All right, this is going to be so much fun. Aloha, everyone. Good afternoon or good evening to a lot of you on the East Coast. Let's see. We're going to start in just a few minutes. We're really, really, really excited about today.
Oh, we keep having more people show up. This is great.
All right, and again, this is going to be recorded for future viewings because I think there's going to be I think this is going to end up being like a really great resource.
Yes.
All right, actually, I'll pull Sarah up with me.
Hi, y'all. Yay, and I have the chat open, so I'll be answering people's questions and also kind of stopping things to say, to ask questions for you folks. So if you have any questions or you just want to say, hey, write it in the chat because I'm monitoring that today.
All right, so we'll officially start in a minute or so, but yeah, how are you guys doing? I know, thank you for taking some time from your ukulele practicing to join us today.
Yes.
This is going to be so much fun. Oh, I know it is it is interesting how much more time we do on like the Zoom calls nowadays, and
I know.
oh my gosh.
But honestly, though, there are some things that it has made easier. Like, I like that I don't have to always, like, I can do a telehealth thing. That's like a normal thing now to just tell my doctor over a video call what's going on and not have to like wait in the waiting room and do all this. Just, there's some things that are convenient. And then there's some things that it's like, oh man, I wish this could be in person.
I'm bringing Sarah's volume up just a hair. Is everything...
Everything sounding and looking okay, everybody?
Ooh, Ginger. Kathy, thank you. Stephanie, great.
Yay! I love that we're getting to see everybody.
Bradley Bauer, great to see you, buddy. Mitchell, I'm going to do your V... Did I do...
No, I did Mitchell's
you did
VE
Mitchell's
already. I answered you today.
I need to do a bunch more today.
Good. I'm glad it's sounding good. Yes, I actually did
Awesome.
a bunch of VEs this morning. I did a lot of first-timers. That was really cool. We've had a bunch of new folks, and then, I did about 9 this morning.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Awesome.
It's funny, we had a couple of days that we had to take off. I think 3 days off from doing VEs, and we got the queue down to 0. We were so proud of ourselves. And this morning we logged in, and there were 17.
Which is great. That means you guys are using.
We
That's
love it. This is not a complaint. It's just I was like, oh, we better get on that.
There was one year during like the Christmas time where we had a bunch of new students. I think we had like 30 that popped up in a few days. We're like, oh my gosh.
Well, that was okay. So there was one
that scared
one
us
time.
a little bit.
Yeah, we had I think it was 30. And you and I sat and did all 30 that day. I had the iPad and Craig had the main studio stuff. And at the same time, we recorded and did stuff. And there was one student, I always call him JCT because that's his screen name. But he always, he actually commented, said, holy VE, Batman, because he could count like, oh my God, they did 30 today. But we try to answer you guys quickly.
For Ginger's question, I think you it meant new ukes, but this is like the best
I have the other one over here.
Ever played. This is our new custom. And
yeah, the new high G sounds so good.
It is incredible. So we have that crazy bevel armrest thing. Look how it's so comfortable.
And then this is the Barry tenor.
The Barry tenor.
Ooh.
Oh, yes.
And now Craig actually gets to have, well, I say Craig, I play this uke a lot. We actually have the fancy pants sound port on both instruments now instead of just one. But I love the, I don't know if you guys can see how this dips, right?
Yes.
Because that's actually like super comfy.
Let me turn that guy
Nice.
off. But these are just... It has that really deep tone.
And yes, Ginger, they are satin on top. That's why you don't get the glare.
But this is a sinker cedar top?
No, that's the other one. This one is torrified cedar.
Horrified cedar and a rosewood body,
It's very torrified.
and that is the spruce top.
I like Diane. Diane is here. You can hear her laughing at my terrible jokes.
That's the spruce top.
Spruce top and walnut,
Walnut body.
back and sides.
Ooh, walnut.
It's actually the same walnut made from the it's the same walnut from the same walnut grove as the other one, because that's actually a good friend of ours' Walnut Grove.
Okay, now let's get started. So
Yes.
today's game plan. Every January we try to do a little recap about setting goals and maximizing your time with us for the year. And the first person that jumped in mind for having a guest artist this year was actually our very own Diane Nalini. Diane started with us, I think, right after the student.
Right at the beginning,
launched.
right
Yeah,
as soon
pretty
as the
much.
school launched, but it was started for her husband more so than for her.
Yeah, we'll let her.
Yes, we'll let her tell the story.
That story about that. But the thing that really stood out when we were working with Diane was that she's already an incredible musician, incredible singer, zero knowledge of the ukulele to start with, and to see her progress and is now, teaching with the ukulele, performing incredible concerts with the ukulele. We wanted to talk to her about how she maximized her time with us. What are the tips for new students or students who've been with us to really get the most out of this experience? And we were so grateful that she could join us and talk a little bit about working here with us at ArtistWorks, and as well as what she's been doing in the ukulele community as
Yes.
well. So without further ado, and please ask any questions that you might have
In the chat.
chat. Like, why does your husband use Sony cameras? I have no idea. It's just it's odd when Canon is so much better. But
It's a sickness, Craig.
but let's bring up. We'll have all three of us. Well, let's bring up Diane. There we go. There's Diane.
Hi, everybody. It's so great to be with you today. So great to see you guys.
Oh my gosh. And first off, yes, her room is that blue all the time. It's just it sets the mood for her songwriting.
It's her mood indigo.
Yes.
My mood, absolutely.
Before we kind of have a little chat, can you please introduce yourself in a way that I did, I'm so drunk at these things because, again, an incredible artist based in Canada who is currently on lockdown right now. So, we were going to fly her out to Hawaii, but,
Just for this.
Yeah. Well, guys, it's wonderful to be. It's so great to be here with you. I feel so just so honored to be with you because I started out as an ArtistWorks student. As Craig mentioned, I was there right at the beginning. In fact, we signed up. I was so excited about the school that I signed up before it even launched. I think there was like a
Yes.
sign-up sheet where you could sign up before it launched, so you got notified as soon as it was ready to go. And I would say that at that point, I had maybe only been studying on my own for a few months, and I studied. I took about a year of guitar about 15 years ago with a teacher. I was interested in jazz, and the teacher only taught folk, and so I never learned a single jazz chord on. I didn't learn a single jazz chord on guitar, and he just played finger style, and we were doing a swap where I would teach him voice, and he would teach me guitar. But it wasn't very effective, and I would listen to records and try to figure out for myself what I was hearing, and then I could work out a lot of bossa nova on my own on the guitar, but I gave up the guitar because I found it too big, too bulky. The frets were too far apart. My wrist was always sore. And I know that's not really an excuse because you see those little 6-year-old North Korean children playing full-sized guitars and they're like nailing everything and they put you to shame. And so that's not a valid excuse, but just for whatever reason, I didn't feel like guitar was it for me and I gave up. but I always had it in the house, and I would write. I write a lot of my own songs and my own music, so I would either write at the guitar or I would write at the piano. And I don't play piano. I play it slowly and badly, and I'm always thinking, and I'll be like, okay, so if I want a flat 5, I got to go from B to B flat here. And by the time I figured out all the fingerings, I've forgotten what the previous chord sounds like. So
Oh no.
it's really slow going for me when I sit at the piano. And when I came across the ukulele, it was because my husband got it in his head that he wanted to play ukulele, and he's very obsessive. Like, my husband does deep dives in things, and he gets totally obsessed, and he eats, sleeps, and breathes it for like 24 hours a day. And I thought, if I want to kind of be part of his life during this obsession, what better way what better way to do it than to play the ukulele along with him, and we'll learn together. And so we started learning together. But he's much more of a self-taught kind of guy. He likes to learn from books, and I don't like to learn from books. I like to learn, like, when I finally hit on ArtistWorks, it was like, this is exactly what I've been looking for. I saw you guys, I was familiar with you guys from like YouTube, and I thought, people are going to guide me through step by step. I'm going to be able to watch them and imitate what they're doing. And I knew that Craig had like beautiful tone and dexterity and played all these great fills. And I knew that Sarah was a jazz singer and also played jazz ukulele. And I thought, I'm going to learn jazz chords on a string instrument, which is what I had always wanted, and I had failed to achieve with any other teacher. And so it was just so exciting. And it really spoke to me. And it was like, I felt like suddenly there was this perfect synergy between what I wanted and needed out of the instrument and what you guys were teaching, and the way that the ArtistWorks approach is structured. And I remember my first VE, I was so shy that I filmed myself from the neck down. I didn't want to put my face on camera. I think I was super shy, and I just anyway, it took me a while to gather the courage to put my face into the videos as well. And then I realized you guys were so friendly and so lovely that I shouldn't have been worried at all. So
No, and actually that one of the things I love about the whole videos and the exchanges is that a lot of, if you watch like a lot of early video exchanges and more recent ones, I love that you can see not only their skills on the ukulele getting better and better, but also like the lighting and how they're filming themselves and the audio, because it touches upon all these other things that you don't necessarily need to think about when you're doing like a one-on-one lessons, or if you're only learning via YouTube or something like that. So I love seeing that growth as well. And I know Ginger is a photographer as well, and so these things that we think about as we do it, I love being able to help with that back end as well, because especially nowadays how important this kind of thing is, really. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys set a really high bar, though. I will say that I have dabbled in a couple of the other ArtistWorks courses, and not every teacher is as tech savvy as you and has as beautiful lighting and beautiful camera work. So you guys are setting a high bar, and it's probably what's inspiring everybody to kind of try to catch up with you.
Well, one thing I also wanted to point out too with what Craig was saying, and this is actually true with the VEs of yours, is that you could see the thing I love about it is you see the confidence beginning. Like the very first where you're like, I'm not even going to show my face. Here's me playing some stuff. Then like in the end, you were willing to make mistakes and you were willing to say it, and it wasn't devastating. It was like, oh, I totally messed up here. So I'm thinking about this, and this, and this. Because you always asked a lot of great questions, and you
were so patient answering all of my questions. I felt so bad. Sometimes I'd be like, oh my God, this is an 8-minute VE. How do I dare to even send this in?
But the thing is, though, it's like the more confident that you got, like it was fun for us. Like, and in like a sort of mama bird kind of way where I'm like, look,
well,
she can fly.
It comes down to that. We want to see you guys succeed. We want to share the joy that we have playing, with and being able to pass that on. And that's the whole point of this, right? So like we for those of you who still have, watching this in the replay and whatnot, if you haven't done a VE yet,
Do it.
even if you wear a Halloween mask or something, if you're shy,
Which we've had people do.
we want to work with you. We want to make sure that we can still kind of have that one-on-one with you. That is so important with
Oh,
this.
yeah. And if you're shy, just do like me. Just film yourself from the neck down at the beginning, and then you'll find out that Sarah and Craig don't bite, and they're super sweet, and you'll feel good about showing your face eventually.
Now, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, one of the earliest VEs I submitted with my chopped off head was the one with the C scale that Craig teaches, where, you're trying to learn to do up down strokes, right? So you're doing And when I first started, I couldn't get those upstrokes. So it sounded like this. Sorry, I have to try and make it crappy. Hold on. Like, it was soft. It was like this.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
I couldn't get that. And it was what I discovered through much practice, was that it was all about the angle, like using, I think, Craig, you mentioned treating your thumb like a bit of a pendulum, right? Like there's this movement that goes up and down, and it was about finding the strike angle, the tension, figuring out whether your knuckle should be rigid or a little bit looser. And you have to play around with these. It's a lot of experimentation, but that was so useful. And I baked that into my daily practice. So then when I would do my scales, sometimes I would do all my scales with the thumb that way. So I would just be like, and then I would swing them too. So instead of doing them in straight time, because I knew I wanted to do jazz, I would do I'd be like that, like da 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 da.
Right.
So I would be trying to bake in a couple of things that I knew I needed in my own practice at the same time. So I'd be doing scales and trying to get the tone right with the thumb. And I find that so useful, because even as you guys point out in your lessons, the tone that you achieve when you're using the thumb versus if you're using like the back of your index versus if you're picking, it's completely different. So I have this arrangement of Mona Lisa that I like to perform. And it has like a little part in the middle where I play the melody of Mona Lisa. And if I do like that, sort of I'm just noodling right now, but it's like if I play it with the thumb like that, like that, versus if I use the back of my index, like much softer, right? Like totally different sound. And so, but the ability to do those down up strokes is essential, because otherwise, if you're doing them all downs, it sounds like this. Which is fine, but there's only so much speed you can achieve in that. And if you can do the upstroke, then you can go that much faster and more fluidly, right? So those little things, like the earliest lessons I think that tone exercise that with the C scale is, I think it's in the C scale variations lesson, and I've in the beginner section. But I took that with me all the way through, and I still practice it to this day. I try to make sure my tone is the same down and up, and close my eyes. And I have to be honest, like, can I hear the difference between the down and the up? And if I can hear the difference, then that's not good. That means I need to work harder, right? Right. So these are all things, and that's like even things like the spider exercise, the 1, 2, 3, 4 exercise. Like I really like that, and I don't do it every single day, but I try to remember to do it as like every other day, maybe, And again, I'll do like or I'll alternate. So practice it. So that I'm alternating with my thumb up and down, right? Nice. And then maybe I'll swing it and go.
Yeah.
Right? So then I'm still getting that finger exercise warm up, but I'm trying to practice multiple things at once. But at first, when I was trying to do it, I just focused on one thing at a time. Play it in straight time, do downstrokes. Like, don't try to do everything at the same time, because then you're just like, you're kind of doing this thing where you're like, am I hitting or circling or whatever? But eventually, once you feel comfortable, you can combine exercises together, so you're being more efficient in your practice, but you're achieving like multiple goals with a single exercise.
That's definitely one of our
Excellent.
big goals is trying to be as efficient, because I mean we don't have 8 hours a day to practice,
No.
you know, and
Well, you might have it right now because you're on lockdown, but usually you don't have.
Usually, no.
but there
Yeah.
and also there's something I always feel like practicing is very there's kind of circles that we go through in the sense where we always love practicing a new song. Oh my gosh, that sounds so great. I'm gonna learn this and this and this. But then you realize, oh, that part of the song is so sloppy, and then you take some time to kind of work on the tone. You work on that one part, that one technique, or that one way of strumming or picking. And like you said, to dial in that tone, because that tone control is, I feel like it doesn't get, people tend to skip that a lot.
Yeah.
And only learn how to play the songs. But once you get that tone control, like it applies to everything that you do, you know. So it's not just, you know, for that individual song, but it's something that you just have
Yeah.
a lot more options to play with, and you have that tool set.
I also feel like with tone, that's something that like you have to go back and re-practice. You know what I mean? Like you don't just get it where you want it and you're like, okay, set it, forget it. Like I have to go back and like re-practice things.
Absolutely.
check-
I do my vocal exercises every day. It doesn't matter that I've been a professional singer for like over 20 years. Every day I'll sing scales, sing arpeggios. I'll be practicing my like pharyngeal slides, all those things. Like it's not just because you nailed it last week that you can be assured that you'll be able to do it this week. But like we're physical bodies, and our skills
Yeah.
need to be continually refreshed, and we need to continually stimulate those muscle memories, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Totally.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
What were some of the biggest challenges, and how were you able to overcome them?
So, my very first year in ArtistWorks, one of my big challenges was bar chords. I struggled very much with those. I would get dead sounds, so I'd be like, oh, sorry, let me just simulate like that. Or maybe I'd be pressing really hard on the tip of my finger, and then I couldn't get a solid sound from this end, from the the A string, and I'd be like, or sorry, it's hard to fake it once you hold on, like that, like this. Sometimes there'd be different dead strings, and I went through before doing this session today. I went through the ArtistWorks curriculum and went through the lessons that I found most useful in the beginner, intermediate, and advanced section. And right in the beginner section, there's a lesson that that Craig teaches, I think, with the with bar chords, and there's like this exercise where you have to just do like just hit the A string, and then hit 2 strings, and then 3 strings, and then 4 strings, and you're like fooling yourself into doing it, right? And
that's a good exercise.
that whole series with bars, and then of course this classic Craig and Sarah technique, which I've never forgotten, which is the technique of using your instrument like a seesaw, where you squeeze the lower bout of the instrument so that it pulls out. And it's like you're squeezing it powerfully so that the instrument wants to push outwards, and then you're just pulling the bar back into, and you're creating this seesaw tension, and so you can play bars without using your thumb, right?
Yeah.
Like that's amazing. That idea of being able to play the bar. My thumb is not there now.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. That really kind of was revolutionary to me, and the ergonomics of that. And what I loved is it forces your wrist to stay flat as well, so it puts your body in a healthier position too. So that whole session on bar chords, that was a huge struggle. I would say that I practiced every day for like, maybe I wasn't just practicing bar chords, but I was practicing every day for at least an hour a day, and it took me a month to get a clean tone out of bar chords, and that's how much I struggled. So that was a lot of hours of practice of having really crappy sound on bar chords. But what was interesting was, it's like you cross the Rubicon at one point, and once you nail the bar chord, there's like no going back. You remember how to do it. Yeah. And what surprised me was when I first started playing ukulele, I was pinching so hard, like this really like squeezing the fretboard, trying to get the strings, to pin to
You're
clamp
trying to
at
get the
above the
water
fret.
out of the wood.
Yeah, exactly. And then you guys had this great tip, which is like Sarah had a response to me once on a VE where she said, she always has her thumb about 2 frets up from the fret where the bar is, and the thumb is pointing upwards, like parallel to the fretboard.
Yep.
And then you're pulling back with the seesaw action, and that combination of advice really helped me get past my problems with bar chords. So that, I would say, bar chords was my big Achilles heel for a good long while. And then the other thing that I found super useful was something that Sarah taught called like Sarah's pick roll.
Oh yeah.
Which again, if you're interested in doing jazz and you're trying to, if you're trying to do comping, where you're going to alternate between something like that, it's just so useful to be able to get the sound as if you've strummed. Like the roll allows you to create something that's so quick, so it's not like that, it's not quite that simultaneous, but nor is it, it's a bit faster, right? So it's like that.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you've done like that, but you're going, oh sorry, like that, or something like it opened up a world where I didn't have to alternate between strumming and then suddenly finding the strings that I want, and then strumming and then finding the string. It allows you to stay in this kind of like syncopated like it's a technique that I found so useful, and I think I do it subconsciously without even thinking about it anymore. But it was again, it was something that it took a long time. I had to practice for many, many days, weeks to get that roll to be fast enough. But I think what you realize is it's like you got to go slow.
Yeah.
And then you pick up the speed a bit more. And then at some point, it almost feels as if you're, I know I shouldn't be popping my fingers off the fretboard, but it's almost like you're scratching the neck of a little cat or something, and you're going meow, 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 meow.
Yes. I love that description. Yeah. And it's funny that you say that it's like, it feels like it's subconscious, because that was something that got recorded not in the first round of videos, but in the second round of our time at Napa. And Craig actually was the one who requested that I teach that. And I actually had to really think about it.
Thank you, Craig.
Well, because once I heard it, like, it was so different than what I was doing at the time. Like you said, there's so many other options to get a similar thing.
Yeah.
But to have that kind of individual control over the 4 strings was amazing. So
but I didn't know how to teach it. So I had to like really think about it and kind of be like, how do you? Because I just did it. And it was one of those things that it's like, I got to think about how to teach it.
It's hard to deconstruct. Yeah, sometimes playing something slowly is actually harder than playing it fast. Not often, but every now and then, I think it's one of those things where it's hard to deconstruct. One of the things I also find good about the roll is it allows you to stop. You don't have to use the A string. So if you're trying to play only the inner strings of the ukulele, so in bossa nova, for example, this will happen a lot where you'll go down from, let's say you're playing, I'll just zoom in on my my hands here, if that's helpful here. Let's say you're playing this is a C13 chord. So this is a C7 chord, 3 5 3 3, and I'm going to put my ring finger down at the 5th fret on the E string, so it becomes 3 4 5 3. And often in bossa nova music, you'll hear this little walk down where the ring finger goes like that, and that's very typical in Brazilian music. You'll hear that all the time, where it goes. And then you can even walk it back up if you want. You can go. Right? So that's an example of something where you don't want that top note, which happens to be C. Like if you're playing this inversion of the C7 chord, the top note is the C, which is the root, which is possibly the least interesting note in the chord, because if you're playing with a bassist, the bassist is going to be playing the C. So you can happily omit that from the chord, and then really let the inner voices shine. And that's with this roll. And then you can also arpeggiate up to that top note if you want and do
Nice. Yeah.
that sort of thing. Like all those little things, that independence of using finger
Mm-hmm.
style is
Yeah.
so much more precise than trying to strum and stop on the right string,
Yeah.
right? Like if I try it with my index, what would it sound like? It would sound like this. It's messy. It's not as, I'm not giving
Yeah.
as much precision, and there's every chance that I will overshoot and then screw up the whole rhythm that I'm trying to get out of the comping. So that's why I prefer fingerstyle for that sort of thing.
Yeah. And one small thing I wanted to mention real quick was that bar chord thing that you had mentioned prior with using
Yes.
the counter pressure. I actually also use that for just even standard chords where I can play anything without the use of my thumb. And I always use counter pressure with playing all of my other chords too, and that's something that I've been
Oh,
trying to point
cool.
out to students because it requires less, I don't know, it's less work for my hands. But we had somebody who had a question for you. So I'm
Oh,
going to
yes.
read the question from
Great.
Vincent. It's kind of a two-parter. So, when you were struggling as a student, what progressions did you follow when learning the songs, like melody, then chords, then lyrics? And did you invest much time in memorizing the song as opposed to relying on the sheet music?
Oh, great question. Okay. So I think first off, I'm a jazz singer. I've been singing professionally for like over 20 years. I know a lot of jazz standards. So typically I will choose a song that I already know the lyrics to and where I already know the melody that I want to sing. And because I'm the band leader, I get to decide. That's not always true. Most of the time, I get to decide what songs I sing. So I will not typically choose a song that I've never sung or heard before, where it's because that is a big struggle. If you're trying to learn new lyrics, new melody,
Yeah.
and an accompaniment, that's a heck of a lot of stuff to throw at your brain. And typically, it's hard enough, like just to work out a good accompaniment, that you typically don't want to also be trying to divide your brain up into looking at a lyrics sheet or whatever.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, when you perform, you want to be looking every now and then at the audience. So you don't want to have your nose in the sheet music to the extent possible. So definitely, I would advise you to not start trying to learn the uke accompaniment for a song until you've learned the melody and the lyrics. So the best way to learn the melody and lyrics, for example, for jazz standards, is to just listen to a ton of different interpretations of that jazz standards by different vocalists and instrumental. So, you know, Miles Davis recorded a ton of standards. Check out Miles's versions, although Miles tends to reharmonize tunes and play extra little bits that won't be typical of the harmony. So if you want something that's really typical, start with like Frank Sinatra and Ella Fitzgerald, the songbook collection that she did, like the orchestral songbook collections. Those are beautifully recorded. Typically, they're going to nail the melody. So if you're a guy, listen to Frank, listen to Tony Bennett, listen to Nat King Cole, listen to Johnny Hartman. If you're a woman, listen to Sarah Vaughan, Ella Fitzgerald, Betty Carter, Blossom Dearie. There's tons of people. I'm skipping, you know, I'm skipping tons of great singers. But listen to the melodies so often that you nail it, like you just know it before you even pick up your uke. Then as soon as you pick up the uke, you may find that your brain is suddenly going a little bit spastic and the lyrics disappear for a little while, even though you know the song inside out. That happens. So then once you're working on the chords, at that point, just hum the melody. Like hum the melody to yourself. And if that is too hard, humming the melody and playing the chords, then just work out the chords on your own. To the other part of your question about do I like to rely on sheet music or do I prefer to memorize the tune? It depends. If it's something I'm going to be performing for a concert, you bet I want to memorize everything because again, I really don't want to be relying on my music, especially I'm performing a lot at home during the pandemic and I'm relying on my iPad. And if the iPad crashes for any reason, it hasn't. It's never done that, but suppose I forget to charge it or it crashes or whatever. How terrible would it be if I had to stop mid-song because I didn't know what the next chord was, right? Now, I still do have a chord chart in front of me when I'm performing because my husband and I will share a chord chart and he'll be reading the chart and playing his bass lines. I'll be looking at the chart too occasionally, but I want to just be doing it for guidance. Like I want to be able to be like, okay, so this is like, I've just been working on the song Too Marvelous because we're going to be doing this together with Sarah and Craig. But suppose it's just like, okay, so Too Marvelous in C, it starts with a 2-5-1 in C. So I'm going to be on D minor, G7. So you're just too marvelous for words, right? Like, so I just need to remember what key I'm in. I'm like, okay, it's a 2-5, 2-5, hovering around for a 2-5 for a little while. And those sorts of things. And then if I forget what the next chord is, I just have to glance down really quickly and remind myself. But I'm not like, oh my God, I couldn't do this tune without looking down at the chart the whole time, because from a performance perspective, you're not engaging your audience if you do that. You want to make eye contact either with real people or with the camera as much as possible. Sorry, that was a long answer. I hope that was comprehensive enough. But if I didn't answer enough, please let me know and I'll dive deeper.
No, that's great. I mean, that's a great example because even right now, right, talking to you through the camera, making that eye contact is so much more engaging than if I'm talking down like this and
Or
know,
looking at your screen,
especially for 4 minutes, during a song, so
Yes.
we having that, it's kind of like a strap. It's a great tool. Right? It's a great thing to have just in case, but you don't want to rely on it like a crutch. That's the biggest difference, I think.
He says,
great.
looking right at her strap. Wearing one of your straps, Sarah and Craig. Give me a break.
right. That's right.
No, I agree. It
I'm
is
joking.
helpful. It is helpful.
They are.
But-
It can be helpful.
Well,
But
for me,
yeah.
especially because I need to gesticulate with my hands. Like as a band leader, I tend to talk with my hands like I'm doing right now, and I don't want the uke to fall. So I do.
Well, also, when it's winter and it's cold, like where you live, you have to wear long sleeves, and a lot of
Yes.
times sweaters and things are slick, and it's harder to actually hold your instrument to your body without a strap when
Yes.
you're wearing something
Yeah.
slick.
We are also having freezing weather, I think.
Yes, our it's so cold.
Do not even talk to me about it, man. It's like -40 over here. I don't want to hear about your balmy 15 degrees and how cold it feels. I'm joking.
I know. And someone had asked about your strap, saying, "Is it attached to the back of your uke?" So that if it's is it it has one of. Oh, go ahead, Diane, because
Yes.
Craig has it zoomed in on you.
Hold on. Let me just. Sorry, I'm just going to try and orient myself so you can see. Can you see here? Yeah, this is
yeah.
this it's stuck here on the neck of the instrument here, and then on the bottom I've got a little undersaddle pickup here. It's an LR Bags, and so I've got a 1/4-inch jack instrument cable going in here, and so the uke strap goes on the over the opening for the jack, and then the jack goes in, and I love that because it creates sense security, because there's no danger
Yes.
then that the strap will pop out because the cable is going through it. I have had that happen, believe it or not, with some straps, not Sarah and Craig's straps, but I have had that happen where the eye opening is not secure enough, and then the things popped out. Oh my God, it was terrifying. Luckily, I caught the uke, but I thought, okay, I am never again putting myself in that situation where I retired that strap instantly because it was scary. Yeah.
Good question, Brian.
Nice.
Okay. Nice.
I saw somebody said long nails probably help with the pick roll. Yes, I do have some nails here, but I am trying to get back to practicing a bit of piano, and it's super difficult to navigate that and also have nails long enough for fingerstyle. So I sacrifice I teach ukulele. I want to perform with the ukulele. So I do have clickety click sounds on the keys because I need some nail.
Well,
for
actually,
the
this is
ukulele.
where this technique can be different. For example, Sarah does have nails on her right hand, so when she does the pick roll, it has a very unique sound.
Oh yeah, and they're not super long though.
But you can hear a little bit more of that nail sound. For me, these 4 guys are short, so when I do,
It's all flesh.
It's a bit of flesh.
Yeah,
It's
so-
nice. It sounds
so
nice with
it's
the flesh.
very different. So again, it all these techniques, other variables can change how they sound and how you would use it. So it is really fun
Yes.
to see those differences.
Yeah, for
Okay, I
sure.
have more questions for you.
And I'm just
Um,
going through, I have my list of like, I don't want to forget to mention all the other stuff that was so useful. Um,
How long were you an ArtistWorks student?
so I joined right when it launched in 2016, and I would say that I was super active for the first 3 years, and then
Hmm.
I started to get busier. It was just our schedule was my husband. It runs a professional big band in Ottawa called the Ottawa Jazz Orchestra, and I started performing. There was one season where I was in more shows than normal with the big band, and
mhm,
so I was a little bit less active. But I still have my membership. Like I still plan to, when time
Well,
permits. As I was doing this exercise of going through all the things I found useful, I realized that I was somewhat selective in what I focused on in my
hmm.
ArtistWorks journey. Like I went through, I would say I followed through, I watched all the videos. I played along with all the beginner and intermediate videos. But when it came to the advanced stuff, I dove right into the jazz standards. And
mm,
that
Yeah,
is where I kind of I found my niche because that was what I wanted to learn and that's what I wanted to do. But all
right.
these cool things like toccata, like all those like strum based stuff that I haven't dived into those yet. I haven't had time and I want to. I don't want to give up that opportunity to learn that from you guys. So I would say 3 years of steady, like very intensive activity. And by intensive, I mean I regimented my practice. I don't want to sound like I was like robotic about it, but I did try to make sure I got in like 3 hours a day of practice. And so I would
mm.
wake up early and I would do an hour every morning before I
That's
left
right.
for work. So I woke up
Um,
earlier than usual. I think there are a few VEs when I'm like, sorry, Sarah, I have to
Yes,
whisper because Adrian's asleep. And
I
that was
remember
because
that.
I was, yeah, that was because it was super early. So I would wake up, like, I think I left for work by 7:30. So I would wake up by 6 every day so that I could start my practice at 6:30 and do an hour before leaving for work. And then I'd come back and I would do 2 hours in the evening. And my typical practice, and I actually wrote down what I was practicing and I would keep
mm,
like a practice diary to track what I was doing. So I would do
Smart.
like, I would do, I guess, major scales up and down the neck, minor scales up and down the neck. Then I would do the leapfrogging ones where you're like, I'm going to screw this up because I haven't done this in a while, but like, no. So maybe, so it's like,
You,
sorry. So it would be like, that sort of that
yeah.
mm,
leapfrogging one.
nice.
And I would do that. I started out doing it in straight time, and then for several months, and then I think it was Adrian who said to me, "Why aren't you doing it in swing? Like you should, if you're going to play jazz, why aren't you swinging all your scales?" And I was like, "Wow, it never occurred to me to swing my scales." Thanks. So it would be like da 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 da. So I would swing all that stuff. Then I would do like Dorian scales, Mixolydian scales, just because I was trying to get into like digging into 251s. And
Hmm.
so in the morning, I would do all these scale exercises, tone exercises, stuff like that. And I would each day, my challenge to myself was to just increase the beats per minute by 2 to 4 beats per minute, depending on how I felt. With the goal of keeping clean tone at all times, like never going so fast in your metronome change that you would suddenly start flubbing, right?
Mhm.
And if I couldn't increase by 4 for whatever reason, I would go back to just a 2 beat per minute increase. And so I did that for like, several weeks, months, whatever. And that was my morning. So my morning routine was quite technical and not so much fun. Like I won't pretend that all practice is fun. Like not all practice is super fun, right? But I also really appreciated these exercises so sorry, it was like all
Oh
those
yeah,
like
the
diminished
scales.
diminished shapes, and then you had like
Yeah, inchworm.
the inchworm, all those things. I did those religiously, like every day as
Nice.
well. And then when I got home at the end of the day, that was when I would kick back and put on the Jamie Aebersold backing
Mm,
track, the 251 CD, and I would be like, okay, so there'd be like a backing track going. So I would do my 2-5-1s in swing style, and I think with the Aebersold backing tracks, some of the 2-5-1s are swing and some of them are bossa. So I would each day I would do like at most, I think they play it each 2-5-1 and each key is repeated twice. So I would do like 1-2-5-1 here, so D minor 7, let's say here, and I'd be like, and then my other 2-5-1 for the next repeat would be like that, right? This inversion.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the next cycle, the next day, maybe I would start here and I'd be like that. So I would get through all 4 inversions that are possible of all the minor 7s up and down the neck over the course of 2 days, because the CD was like, I didn't feel like repeating each major 2-5-1. So, but I got through all my inversions over a cycle of 2 days, and then I think the minor 2-5-1 sequence is like bossa or something. So it might be like. So what I was doing there was B, E, so B half diminished, E7 flat 9, A minor 7, A minor 6, because my attitude was like, I'm here now for a whole 4 beats. I might as well do 2 beats of A minor 7 and 2 beats of A minor 6 just to get that practice in there too. And again, I would work through all 12 keys, but the CD, again, I like to be guided through things. I like to just kick back and not think about too much. So the CD guides you through, like, what's coming next. You go through D, C minor 7, B flat minor 7, and then you cycle through the sharp keys as well. But the important thing was to take cognizant, like not just learn it by ear and start learning patterns and going like, now it's this sound and now it's this sound. No, you have to tell yourself, I'm playing D minor 7 now. And now I'm playing C minor 7, so that you learn the names of all the frets and the bars and the notes that you're playing. Otherwise, it's easy to just be like a robot and do it all and not remember what chords you're playing.
Yeah.
Well, now
And then,
things to add.
sorry.
Okay.
No, what I was going to say was my last hour of practice was a song or two that I love. That was my reward. I would reward myself with something I loved.
That's how Sarah put it too when we started to practice.
And with something fun, so that you remember practice fondly.
Well, that was a fantastic answer. And 2 things to add to that too. The first one is, without needing to know the fancy jazz chords that Diane was doing, but something like a vamp or 2-5-1, a basic 2-5-1 like D7, G7, C in the first position, and then moving up to a different one, D7, G7, C. So you get used to what the pattern is in these different positions on the neck.
Well, it's interesting. Yes, go ahead.
And then, so again, you can take that concept and apply it to your basic progressions and vamps and things like that as a really quick and easy way to practice. But also for the singers out there who always wanted to get better at like harmonizing really quickly, when you're doing those scales, let's say the C scale, if you number them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 within that scale, right? This is the first note in the scale, D is the second, etc., E3, F4. If you sing along with that, especially with the one that you're skipping, so like, then we'll walk it down. Oh. So you could sing along doing 1, 3, 2, 4, 3, 5, 4, 2, 1. The great thing about that is that it's gonna get so ingrained what those jumps feel like. 1, I can guess what the 3 is gonna sound like. 1, 3, 2, 4. But then you have that number to associate with. So if you want to know what that 4 chord sounds like from This Is My One, again, this is part of the ear training that really helps dial in what you expect to hear compared to what you're playing. So it's connecting the two, both the note name or the number in that scale and what you're doing on the ukulele itself too. So again, being able to combine different ways of using one exercise to do multiple things.
Yes.
I love that.
And that's actually something that when people do the C scale and I answer back their VEs, many times I'll actually say, try to sing along with it, because you're not only doing like ear training things, but if you get used to hearing those intervals, you'll be able to do it easier in other keys too, because you're used to hearing what jumping from 1 to 3 sounds like. And
So true.
yeah, and then also you're also working on like potential knowing root note stuff, right? So that then you could maybe sing the root note of the chord you're doing. But what was the thing I was going to mention? Oh, so what you did with your 2-5-1s is actually similar to what I used to do. So when I first started playing and I really wanted to learn jazz, I would take a standard and I would write out the standard in all four. So all the chords, I'd had 4 sheets of paper, and I would write it in first position, then second position, then third, then
Oh,
fourth.
very cool.
And then I'd play
Yes.
through the song. And then you inevitably find the chord melody in doing it that way.
Exactly. Yes, I love
So
that.
that's what I did, was I would take a song, and I knew it all over the neck because I practiced it in every single position on my instrument. Now, I think there was one other question, which was, how did you use the metronome when trying to perfect your rhythm and timing and sticking to the notation?
Yes. So that's another great question, and maybe I feel like I ought to actually call up a metronome now and demonstrate, because otherwise I can't sing a metronome and also sing jazz and do the
come
comping,
on.
because I'll screw it up. Hold on, let me just see. Just a moment, please. I'm just gonna see if I can. How does
Sarah
this
can tell a
thing
joke
work?
in the
Yeah. How do I get the darn metronome to go on this thing? Hold on. Sorry. Hold on. I'm gonna just put drums. Okay, I'm gonna cheat. I'm just gonna mute piano and bass and just have the drums. And let's see if this works. Hold on. Let me know if you can hear this. Maybe it's not working. Hold on.
Not hearing it yet, but that's
Hold on.
okay.
Is that loud enough?
a little bit louder.
Can you hear that? Can't get it any louder. I'll try to move it closer. Is that any better?
Nope. You can put it on your
Can you
shoulder.
hear that?
Can you put it on your shoulder, Craig?
I've got to. Yeah, I don't really know how to get it louder unless I can't hold it up here. Sorry. Okay, so that didn't work. Sorry, I don't know how to make it louder. I'm wondering if I can do the. No, I don't have the metronome app on here. I have it on my phone, and my phone's in the other room.
Oh my gosh.
No
Oh my
worries.
gosh, Diane.
Sorry, you guys. Sorry. Let me just see. Maybe iTunes. Maybe my iPad is smarter than me. Hold on. Open metronome. Let's see what happens when I do that. Oh, I did have a metronome on my iPad. I can't believe it. Okay. Sorry. There you go. Hold on. Okay, tell me you can hear that.
Yes, we can hear it. Yeah.
Can you hear that? Okay, cool.
Yep.
Okay. So 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3. What I'm showing you there is something called a Charleston rhythm, which is very common in bag. It is Charleston, da ba do da, da ba do da. So if we speed that up a little bit now, let me just see if I can make this little guy go a little bit faster. So that was 77 beats per minute, just randomly. Let me do it at 100 beats per minute, and we'll see how that goes. Yeah. 4, D minor 7, G7. C major 7, C6. So that would be like how I would use the metronome to create like a drum.
Now, also, I love that,
Right?
especially for those who are watching the replay, rewind it and look how much more like physical elements you're adding to really kind of hone in on that beat and to help with where you are in that
You move your
measure.
body with the rhythm. And that's a good thing.
Because that is such a big part of keeping rhythm and being in that pocket is like your whole body kind of feels, like
Yeah,
you're
the
getting
groove.
into
You
it.
feel the
Yeah,
groove. Yes.
and
I
it's
used
much
to be a
easier to
dancer,
have it
so
that
I
way.
have, yes, I agree. The
But
groove is in the body as well as the instrument. I agree, totally.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So compared to just
I
trying to
didn't
be
realize I was doing
still.
that, Craig. That's why I'm feeling self-conscious. I'm like, what did I
Oh
do?
no!
No,
I don't
it's
know what
great.
I
It's a
did.
great example. It's fantastic because especially when you're focusing on making sure that you are nailing rhythm, even for us, even if it's a little bit of a dip, but it helps that inner metronome that you're doing stay right on track. So that was a
Yes.
great example.
Well, one thing I want to add to that is if you're not used to doing metronome practice, a lot of folks aren't used to it, right? So I always say a good thing to do is don't even play the instrument, but just tap or clap or to a metronome for a while first, because you want to make sure, because when you're listening to the metronome, you're asking your brain to like keep track with it, right? But if you're also trying to play chords and do a strum pattern and think about a melody of a song, right? As Diane said earlier, it's like you're trying to do too many things at once. So if you've never worked with the metronome before, you can have your instrument in hand and you can try just tapping along with it. Once you're able to do this consistently, right? You could try doing other rhythms if you want. But then I say mute your strings and then you can start trying to strum. Don't worry about chords. And if you're trying to do, if you're having trouble, say, with like a triplet rhythm that Craig teaches, 3, 4, triplet 2, 3, 4, right? Just taking the time and just working with the metronome like that without even strumming is hugely beneficial.
Absolutely. I was
One
going to say
last.
that. Oh,
Oh,
sorry, go
go ahead.
ahead.
One
No, you
last
go
real
ahead.
quick on that is for those singers out there, and you're trying to do something kind of intricate as well, like and then being able to talk or sing, with a little more complicated thing like this. Don't do everything at once. Again,
Yeah.
record yourself just playing this, even with the metronome, but to keep making sure you're on time, because once you add lyrics, especially if the lyrics are syncopated,
Oh,
trying to do everything at once is near impossible starting out. So being able to sing along with how you're going to play it, all of a sudden you're going to know where those lyrics fall within the measure. You're going to know where the phrasing is, and being able to sing along with it, then it's going to be much easier to combine the two after that. But that
That's so
helped
smart.
immensely.
That's so smart, Greg, because I think also the psychology of knowing that you were the one who played that. And then when you're singing, it's like, I know my body can do that because I heard myself do it. And so
yeah.
now it's just a question of like, okay, does the word come slightly before the chord or slightly
Yeah.
after? And then you practice the same phrasing. One of the things that jazz is notoriously difficult for is that, of course, you tend not to sing the song the same way each time. But
Yeah.
in the first instance, I would say if you come across a phrasing that you like, lock that in for a while and lock in your playing and try to do what Craig just said about recording the backing first and then singing over it, and then get a feel for what it means to back phrase. So what do I mean by back phrasing? Like if we're thinking about a tune like, okay, I do a tune called Moonlight Saving Time, and it goes, there ought to be a moonlight saving time so I could love that man of mine till the birdies wake and chime good morning. There ought to be a law in clover time. So what I just did there, da 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 da, I was doing like instead of like, it's almost like I'm throwing in some triplets in there, and I'm breaking up my own phrasing. Instead of there ought to be a da ba ba dwee da dwee da. That's pretty easy to sing if I sing it that way. There ought to be a moonlight saving time so I could love that man of mine. But it doesn't sound like jazz yet, does it? It does sound. It sounds like jazz because I'm swinging it, but my phrasing is very even. And if I sang the whole song that way, you would find it boring after a while. So what you want to do is see, okay, can I change up the phrasing? And what does it mean to be behind the beat? Let me try it behind the beat. There ought to be a moonlight saving time so I could love that man of mine. And so I was laying back my phrasing where my words didn't come in at the same time as the downbeat of every
Yeah.
chord, because I was trying to push and pull the phrasing. Sometimes you anticipate, sometimes you pull, but it's very hard to do that at the beginning. If you're trying to do jazz at the beginning, I would recommend doing more straight phrasing like the first time I did it, and then do what Craig suggested, which is play your comping and then try different phrasings when your voice is independent of your comping. Figure out how that feels and then put it all together later. That'll serve you well.
Nice.
Yep.
Okay. Top 3 tips for new students here at ArtistWorks and top 3 tips for seasoned players.
Oh my God. Okay, that's hard. top three top 3 tips for new players is I would say, I mean, if you're interested in just strumming better and learning, to play songs and stuff, you should be checking out all the wonderful strums from the beginner and intermediate sections, because Craig and Sarah have so much richness. Like, I think, Craig just like, there's the island strum, there's the pop strum, there's also this really cool blues lesson series that teaches you to comp blues with just the 3-chord blues, just like not yet the jazz versions, just the 3-chord blues. All those things should be done rhythmically with a backing track. My number one tip would be practice with a metronome or a backing track, not at the beginning. When you're still trying to make your fingers do the right shapes, of course you should not have a metronome, because you don't want to stress yourself out. You're just trying to figure out the shapes. But as soon as you're comfortable doing that, practice with a metronome, because I think we all think that we have better time than we do. Like, it's human nature. We're like, I got this, man. I don't need no metronome. But that's not true. We all need a metronome. Every musician does need that. And there's a human tendency to speed up. Most of the time when people play a tune, even on professional recordings of yesteryear, you sometimes will hear a track. It starts off at a certain beat per minute, and by the time they finish 5 minutes later, it's sped up by a few beats per minute. That's part of a human nature, but we have to resist that to the extent possible by practicing with a metronome. Tip number 2, in terms of what you can get out of the ArtistWorks class, I would say, if you're just starting out, check out the muting and scratching lesson, because muting and scratching, it's so powerful, and it's going to take you from this like that to like, I'm not muting that right. You're going to find also different techniques when there are some open strings involved. You're going to need to put your fourth or pinky finger down, versus if it's all closed positions, then you can just lift the pressure a bit on the left hand. But that is so powerful. It's going to take your playing to like the next level, the muting and scratching. A third tip for beginners: get some dexterity into your hands. Take time to do the finger. Like, there's Aldrine's Spider. I still do that.
Oh yeah, that's spider number 2.
That's so good. I love that.
Yeah.
And then there's this one too, where you're
that's
moving
Craig's
to
spider.
this one where you. Oh, is that Craig's spider? I'm sorry, I'm forgetting whose spider is who. I apologize.
That's okay.
I love that.
It's all right.
I love that spider. And then this one too. I like this one too, where you're going these 4 fingers.
That's
and
the
then
Aldrine
these
one.
guys
Yeah.
independently. Okay,
Yeah.
that's all good. I mean, guitarists do this too, so I don't think Aldrine invented it. Like, this has been going on for time immemorial, but still, it's super useful. Like, alternating the fingers. These 2 go first, then these guys, then these guys, then these guys. What you realize is it's so humbling at the beginning, because you think you have good hand-eye coordination, and you're like, wait, I told my brain to move my 4th finger. How come my pinky's lifting? Like, it's so frustrating, but you will get better at it, and it will be so good later on when you're and these inchworm exercises, like that one that Sarah, I think it's Sarah teaches it. I forget.
Yeah.
I don't want to misattribute thing, but all these dexterity exercises are going to be a world of good later on. In terms of the more seasoned player, I would say all these exercises where Sarah teaches to do the scales that get you the inversion. So it's like,
oh yeah,
and then you go backwards. all those things, and try to get it up to speed. Maybe even do that with a metronome eventually, just like, oh, sorry. And then try to go back, you know? Those are so useful because those are going to get you. We were talking about the inversions and playing 2-5-1s in different places or playing standards in different places along the neck. Those are going to get you so far. Just, and even when you're doing chord melody or knowing that I don't always have to play this G minor 7. I can play, like if I do G minor 7 here, put my pinky down, and then I get to this G minor 7, right? You suddenly, it opens up the fretboard to you, and it teaches you a way to navigate because you're playing a scale at the top here. Because you're playing scales, you know what the top note needs to be for each of those inversions because it's just a scale. So you immediately know if you've made a mistake. So don't skip that. That's super useful. What else? I'm just looking. Oh, one lesson that really opened up possibilities for me as I play both high G and low G, but when I'm playing on my own, if I'm trying to do like a solo arrangement, I like low G because it gives me 4 extra notes, right? Sorry, like 5 extra notes. Learn to count, Diane. 5 extra notes. And there's a lesson that I think it's in the intermediate section, and it's called 1625 adding bass lesson.
Yep, I knew that was the one.
That changed my life. That blew my mind. I did not ever think of the ukulele as an instrument where you could play bass lines, and that has served me in such good stead. So I have this arrangement that I do for the song September Song, and it has a little opening intro, and I'm using the low G string as the root. Most of the time I'm playing roots thanks to this technique. So it's when he was a young man courting girls, he played the waiting game. If a maid refused him with tossing curls, he let the old world take a couple of whirls. See, what I was doing there was chromatic movement and was all bass notes. So this is G major 7, G sharp diminished, A minor 7, A sharp diminished, and then I go to B minor 7 up to E minor 7. So this is all using that low G string as a proper root for those chords. And again, the ukulele is so unique. It doesn't need to be treated like a mini guitar or anything. It shouldn't be. But you have that possibility of actually playing roots on that low string and even on that second on the C string. So that lesson just kind of like, was like, oh my God, this big light bulb went on over my head.
Awesome.
And then I would say just work out. So I said chord scales, the bass line thing, and then any of the lessons where you get to learn chord melody. I think that is so amazing to realize the technique, because I think in those lessons, Sarah really explains how the chord is actually just picking up the melody note at all times, and you start to really understand. It's like, okay, it feels like rocket science when you first see a chord melody performed. Like you see somebody like Benny Chong doing it, or Sarah playing chord melody, or anybody playing chord melody like Joe Pass playing chord melody, or people like that who like are just like zipping along like this along the neck, and you're like, how are they doing that, and how do they know where to go with their fingers? And then you realize it's like, okay, I can do this. I can get the scale under my I can get that stuff under my fingers if I practice it.
Yes, totally.
You just have to practice it.
Now, we cannot let you go without playing a song, but before you play a song for us, I want to mention some of the things you have coming up on February 12th. A lot of time till then, you have a fantastic concert with your husband, Adrian Cho. February 12th live stream. It's going to be fantastic. You guys are always so good.
I love it. I love you guys.
And is there a price for admission on that?
Oh yes, it's $9 Canadian, so that's about
Like
seven US.
$86 US
Seven
or
dollars, $7 US. It's 50 US, something like that. I can't know. I don't remember what the exchange rate is, but it's not crazy.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And that's right before Valentine's. It's going to be
Yeah.
such a sweet concert. We're looking forward to it.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
And I know on the next weekend we're actually be doing a collaboration with you, a workshop.
Yes. Too marvelous. It'll be too marvelous for words, everyone.
Yes, and our little
Oh,
one
there's
just woke up. So
Cameron.
there's
Oh
Cameron.
my
He's
Just
kind
God,
of
woke
what
up.
a cutie.
he's
He's still waking up.
waking. But
Such
that's
a
going to be a
sweet.
fantastic workshop. We'll have much more
Yeah,
details
I'm
on that
super excited about
shortly.
that.
Yeah, we've been working hard on organizing that so far with
Yeah.
Diane. It's going to be a ton of fun.
And Diane, do you think, because I know you took the time to really go through the lessons and kind of compile like what things you thought were super helpful, would you mind sharing that with us so I can give that PDF when we post
Oh,
this in
yeah.
ArtistWorks?
Ah, nice.
Absolutely. I'll type it up because it's all scribbled by hand.
Oh, thank you.
But absolutely, I'll be happy to do that.
Oh, thank you.
And
Awesome.
yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
also later in March and April, you are doing a bunch of workshops as well.
Yes.
I know from the ukuleleforjazzsingers.com.
Check it out.
Check it
It's
out.
so
Lots of
good.
great resources there, and especially the YouTube channel. I just started my website. Jazz ukulele for no, ukulele singers for jazz. So
Just Craig.
so watch out.
You sneaky so and so.
But Diane, of course, as you can tell, is one of like the nicest people, even being Canadian. Like on top of that,
Like,
it's amazing.
seriously.
And
Oh my goodness.
we've had such a pleasure getting to know her through the years, and again, if it wasn't for the video exchanges, we wouldn't have met. I mean, if it was only a
True.
one-way thing,
Right.
So again, please make the most of the video exchanges. We love to get to know you guys. We love to be able to work with you one-on-one and really, make sure that you're getting to that place where you want to be. I'm sure there's going to be other questions, but again, Diane does check in her busy schedule once in a while. So if there are more questions, please put them in the forum
Yeah.
as well. I'm sure Diane would love to help answer those as well.
Sure. I'll be
um,
happy to.
But, Diane, it has been such a pleasure. Again, and
Oh.
watching you teach more with the ukulele and watching you just do more. And again, the quality of your video work is fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
It's not all due to Adrian. You know your stuff too. So
Sony. I'm much more agnostic about Sony versus Canon than he is, but I do like the rapid autofocus. I do like that.
Yes.
yeah.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
And one last question someone had is,
Mm.
would you tell us what kind of uke you're playing?
Oh, yes, happily. Yeah, thank you for asking. This is an ukulele by a wonderful luthier from here in Canada. His name is Luis Feo de Mesquita. He has a website. It's called LFDM Guitars. I think that's .ca. I can type it in the chat right now, lfdmguitars.ca. He makes classical and flamenco guitars and ukuleles. And I first discovered him through the Hawaii Music Supply store because they had a whole podcast feature on 4 different LFDMs, and Calais Gamiao was demonstrating them, and I just fell in love with the sound. I love Calais playing anyway, but to hear him on the LFDM, I was like, oh my God, that's so beautiful. And his instruments are his instruments are beautifully crafted. Like his frets, he has this unique way of like rounding the frets so there's no
Nice.
chance, like even in the winter, we have pretty harsh
Wow.
winters in Canada, and your wood will contract in dry weather and then expand in humid
Yeah.
weather, right? And so sometimes in the winter, if most of my ukuleles, the frets start to stick out a little bit
Yeah.
because the wood has contracted, and all my other ukes are like, ow, I'm cutting myself on the edges because of the frets, man. But these guys, they're filed in such a way that never happens. It's so smooth and beautiful, and he's got this lattice bracing under the top that just gives beautiful tone. I love his instruments. So this is my tenor LFDM, and I have a a baritone, an 18-inch tenor tuned as a baritone. And I actually have just ordered a new custom high G from him, because when I teach, I do a
Yes.
lot of high
Nice.
G teaching,
As you
and I
should,
only
yeah.
have like, yes, I only have a little pono that I teach on, and it's such a every time I have to switch away from my
Ah,
LFDM, it's so disappointing that I'm so excited I'm going to have a high G
yeah.
LFDM, so that when I teach
Nice.
high G, I'll just be like, I never want to give it up.
No, because
Aw.
our winters are pretty rough here too.
Yep.
Ugh.
But
Well,
but if for those of you watching, if you do end up during a winter or going to, let's say, Palm Springs for their festival, and you start to notice the fret sticking out again, it's because the fretboard shrank because it's so dry.
That's
So
right.
Aaron Kime, who we featured here multiple times, his trick, when we traveled to places like that, because we would be going from like, the Queensland, Australia to desert in Arizona, and our ukes are just, they're so mad at us. But doing a very slightly damp hand towel and letting it rest on the fretboard overnight in the case, the next day it was perfect. You got to
That's a
give it a little
cool
bit more
tip.
moisture back. Yeah,
I
especially if
think
you're
I need that
traveling
right
and
now,
performing.
because I use the Oasis humidifiers in the obviously I
Yeah,
leave
it
it in
doesn't
case, but
get
it's
to
not
that.
enough.
Yeah.
It doesn't get like to
Yeah.
here. That's a cool tip. I'm gonna try that.
Yeah, not dripping
Good.
wet, but just just
Slightly
damp
damp.
enough. Yeah, so
Yes, yes.
that it
Yeah.
was a lifesaver for us. Uh, would you be able to preview a song from your concert for us?
Absolutely.
Woohoo!
Sarah, do you want me to play Too Marvelous, or should we save that?
It doesn't matter. You can do
Okay.
whatever you want.
Okay. So sorry. So speaking of tunes where I do need to look at the music, blah, 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 even though I said I wasn't going to do that, I'll just give you a preview. This is a tune that Sarah and I are going to be teaching at the and maybe
February.
Craig. I just always assume Craig is going to be there playing bass for us, but I shouldn't assume that. He's so good on that Ohana bass. That's so awesome. Anyway, sorry, I'm just rambling now. I'm going to start this now. So, yeah, you're much too marvelous for words like glorious, glamorous, and that old standby amorous. You're just too wonderful. I'll never find the words that tell enough, spell enough. I mean, they just aren't swell enough. You're much too very, very, very to ever be in Webster's dictionary. And so I'm borrowing a love song from the birds to tell you that you're marvelous, too marvelous for words.
Woo!
Yay!
Yes.
Woohoo!
I love it.
Thanks, you guys.
No,
Well,
we
it's
we loved watching you again grow as because again you're already an incredible singer, incredible musician already, but to
Right.
implement the most wonderful instrument in the world with what you do already, it's always so amazing,
yeah,
and to see that growth and to showcase that again. Sometimes you just need to sit down and play scales for a couple hours, and
Yeah.
that's just
That's part of it.
what we have to do sometimes, and it's not all glamorous, but it adds up. It's one of the things that again, it's like, learning how to walk is not glamorous, right? But it's the same foundation work that we got to do just every day, and tying that shoelace over and over and over. So,
you're
um,
you're you're so right, Craig. And I would say also that the pandemic has thrown me in. Like I got thrown in somewhat at the deep end of having to comp for myself, because up
Right.
until the pandemic, I was not really performing much on uke. I would bring my uke to like my jazz gigs and kind of beg the forbearance of my guitarist of, would you mind if I played one tune on uke? And I'd be like super shy about it and embarrassed or whatever. And then with the pandemic, we were locked down. There was nothing to be done. It was just me and Adrian. It was like, okay, I got to step up now, and I got to start like just trying this, and it put hair on my chest in a way that I never expected, because and you're live, so you make mistakes, you just keep going. Like
Yeah.
yeah,
that's the other thing, you can make mistakes, just keep going, don't stop, just keep going. Yeah,
oh,
but I want to thank you guys so much, because I literally feel like you guys have both changed my life in a very,
Aw.
very monumental way. Like I am immeasurably a happier person because of your course and what I've learned from you. You brought the ukulele into my life in a way that I could grow with it. And you are just the best teachers and the nicest people that one could ever wish for. And I'm just so grateful. I'm grateful to have you in my life. I'm grateful that we're friends, but I'm grateful for the wonderful education that you've given me. So I cannot thank you enough for your support of me as a student and as a teacher. And I just, anyway, I just, oh, I'm going to start crying, but
Oh, Diane, you're so
you guys
sweet.
are the best.
Aw, thanks.
Oh,
Well,
thank you.
we love having you as a student. We love having you as a, what do you call that? Contemporary? No, what is that?
What?
We love having you as
colleague?
another teacher. Yes, a colleague.
Oh,
That's
as a
it.
colleague.
We love having you as a colleague, and it's just, I'm so glad that you were able to come on today to talk to everybody about how you utilize the program
Yeah.
in order to be
Aw.
able to suit your needs and stuff. I think it's super helpful. So thank you so much for your time.
Yes, thank
Thank
you.
you
And again,
all.
please check out her website, dianalini.com. We'll have a PDF with everything, and ukuleleforjazzsingers.com, as well as the YouTube channel there. Fantastic stuff there. And again, make sure to look for my Ukulele Singers for Jazz website coming out soon. And
He's so bad, man.
um,
You're so
but
bad, Craig.
if you
I'm
haven't
just
seen,
realizing there's some old time, like some old. When I say old timers, I mean I'm an old timer from ArtistWorks from the very beginning. I'm just realizing that Phil and Brian are here. I hadn't been able to look at the Zoom, and I'm like, we've been there since the beginning. Hi,
That's
Phil and
right.
Brian. It's great to see you guys.
but it's
Yay.
incredible. And again, we look at Phil and Brian and how much they've done, and that's not all from us. It's just their commitment and to keep working at it. And we, again, it's a beautiful instrument, and it's a beautiful community, and we are so lucky to be able to have a platform like ArtistWorks to actually, again, more of a two-way street than just a one-way. So please continue to do what you do, and hopefully you'll get out of lockdown soon.
Come to Hawaii.
And come to Hawaii. Yes, I'll put Cameron
Yay.
back on.
Oh, I'd
but-
love that. We can't wait. Hi, Cameron. Hi, sweetie.
And for
Hi,
those of
little
you who
cutie.
joined us again today, thank you guys so very
Yes.
much for again being here with us. And we try to do these guest artists conversations once a month because it's important. It's important that again we realize that there's real people behind the screen, and
Yes.
especially in the last 2 years, right? So it's been really nice to be able to converse with everyone. Diane, thank you again so very much.
Yeah.
Oh, it's my
we're
pleasure.
just
Thank you.
very fortunate to be on part of your ukulele journey. So
Yes.
Oh,
we
my
feel very,
goodness.
very
We are
special.
lucky.
Yeah. All right.
Wow. Well, thank
uh,
you for having me. It's been a total joy.
Oh, thank you. And for those of you out there again, keep an eye out for their February 12th concert. February 19th, we'll be doing that joint workshop. And we'll also be doing, Diane will be hosting another Ukulele Jazz Fest happening, I think, in May sometime. So we'll have
May
more details
21st and
about-
22nd. Yes.
Oh. Yes, 21st, 22nd. It's going to be fantastic. So again, thank you guys so much. Have a fantastic rest of your weekend. Aloha.
Aloha, everybody.